So for our next activity, we're going to be focusing on the order of operations, and we're going to use the 5th grade Georgia Standards of Excellence, which is to use parentheses, brackets, or braces in numerical expressions and evaluate expressions within these symbols. And so we're going to be focusing on using parentheses and evaluating the expressions within the parentheses. And our essential question for our activity is, how can I use the order of operations to solve numerical expressions that contain parentheses? So for this activity, students are only going to need the worksheet for the activity, the baggie with the slips of paper for the different order of operations, tape or glue stick, a highlighter, and a pen or a pencil. So first, the teacher is going to give each student one of the worksheets, and she's going to go over to remind students the order of operations. So we're going to start with our parentheses, which we'll do first. Exponents are next. Multiply or divide from left to right, and add or subtract from left to right. And so the students, this just gives them a visual reminder of the order of operations, and then you'll notice we're focusing on parentheses from our standards, so each one of our problems that students are going to be working on contain parentheses. Next, your students are going to take out all of your slips of paper from inside the baggie. So then once your students have all of the slips of paper organized, the teacher will go over that each slip of paper is going to match with the order of operations for one of the problems. So we're going to use each slip of paper just one time. And then in our box right here, this is going to be our final solution where we evaluated each order of operation. Before we begin, the teacher is going to make sure students have out their highlighter, because we're going to use the highlighter to highlight or underline which operation that we're doing first. So with number 1, you notice that we have to start out with our parentheses, because in order of operations, parentheses comes first. So the students will highlight 8 plus 2, which is 10. And so then they'll know we have to bring our 10 down and that we bring all the other steps along with it. So students are going to look at the matching slips of paper, and they're going to figure out which slip of paper matches for the next step. And so they'll notice that this slip right here matches, so they'll take their tape or their glue stick and they will tape or glue it on right underneath. And then they will keep going with the next step. The teacher can completely do problem 1 with the students, or she can do a small group to pull other students to the side. It just kind of depends on the students and their levels in the classroom. Or this could be just completely individual after you've instructed the students what they need to do and that they fully understand all the directions. So when students fully understand what they need to do next, they'll know that next in the order of operations we have exponents. And so in this problem we have 3 squared. So students are going to highlight the 3 squared, because that's what they're going to be doing next. And they'll know that 3 squared equals 9, and that they have to bring down all of our other operations with it. And so they're going to find the matching slip of paper, which is going to be this one. And they're going to tape or glue it right underneath and just keep on going with the problem. So now that your students have completed problem 1 and have matched up their slips of paper in the correct order following the order of operations, they're left with the final order, which is going to be 2 times 9, which is 18. So students will write 18 in the solution box, and then they're going to continue on with problem 2. Now, after your students completed problem 2, this should be the order that the students put the slips in. And so you'll notice we started with our parentheses again, and make sure that your students have highlighted which operation that they're doing first, and make sure that they're transferring all the other numbers down with it. And after we've done our parentheses, all we have left is addition and subtraction symbols. So this is a great time to remind your students that we add or subtract in the order from left to right. And so your students should have done 16 minus 7 first, which is 9, and then brought all of your other numbers down with it. And then students should have highlighted your 9 plus 1, because the addition comes first in the left to right. And 9 plus 1 is 10, and brought down your minus 8 with it. And so students would solve for the solution, which would be 10 minus 8 is going to equal 2. And so that is their completed problem number 2. So then after your students have completed problem number 3, this should be the order that they've completed them in. So we'll notice we always start with our parentheses first. And so in our parentheses we have 4 times 7, which is 28. And then students should bring down all of the other operations and numbers with it. And then students will notice that in our next row we have exponents, so we have to do our exponents next. And it's 5 squared, so that's 5 times 5, which is 25. And then students will bring down the 10 plus and then the plus 28 as well. And then we have addition left, but we always work from left to right. And so we do 10 plus 25, which is 35, and then we bring down our plus 28. And then students will know that the solution will be 35 plus 28, which is going to be 63. And so now your students have just completed the activity, and they will be able to understand how to complete the order of operations, and they will know how to use order of operations to solve numerical expressions that contain parentheses. So now your students have just completed the activity, and the teacher can always go back to make sure students have highlighted the correct order and that students have the correct solution. But this is just a fun visual activity and hands-on for students to remember to follow the order of operations, and students know how to use the order of operations to solve numerical expressions that contain parentheses, which answers our essential question, and they are able to also follow along with the Georgia Standard of Excellence. So your students should have a fun time completing this activity, and it's just another way to help them by highlighting, just an extra step to make sure that they're visually seeing the order of operations.